Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to the video that we usually do when we cover a new patch release. It's going to be a little bit different today. It's going to be unscripted because honestly, there's not a whole lot in this, and this patch doesn't really move the needle a whole lot. I'm sure you're used to hearing that if you're on this channel and you hear me review each of the patches. That we've been getting a lot of 5 or 6s lately. That's kind of been the ratings that I've been giving for a lot of recent patches, and this one, spoilers, is much the same. So I decided not to script this time because if the actual update is going to be paper thin, then I shouldn't make my scripts thick and fully fleshed out, because if that's not happening on their end, I probably shouldn't put that level of effort in on my end. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about this update first before we get too in-depth here with the actual update itself. I did want to talk about 2v8. You may be asking, is it better this time? Who's new that I can sink my teeth into and learn and get better with and have a fun time with in 2v8? No one. There's nobody new in 2v8. It is the same characters besides Wesker, because Wesker got kill switched. So technically it's less characters, but that wasn't intended. So it's the same 2v8 with one less character. Deathslinger got minorly buffed and Oni got minorly nerfed. The cages of corruption also got a pretty substantial buff, because now when the cages feed the anti-camp bar and they like relocate to another side of the map, now they get 30 seconds of a pause on their timer. Yeah, if somehow on a team of 8 people, 7 of them are running around and not going for the save, which does happen because somehow that, I don't know why, but sometimes that happens. Now they don't even get punished for it. So Survivor got even stronger in an infinitely Survivor-sided mode. So yeah, 2v8 didn't really change much. If anything, the things that make it frustrating got even more frustrating, and the main aspect that draws people in anyways, which is like, okay, well, who's new? None of that this time. Just a copy paste and dropped it off and said, okay, enjoy your 2v8, kids. So if you like 2v8, go have fun, because you're probably still going to like it because nothing really changed. If you don't like 2v8 like me, where you think it slaughters 4v1 queues times, and I think the game mode itself is very lopsided and has vastly outstated its welcome, you're probably going to just miss it this time. I wouldn't even honestly give it a try, because it is basically the same romp that it was last time. So if you're already disliking it, you're going to keep disliking it. I think in terms of the update now, and talking about the biggest aspect of that, and that being the diminishing returns, I think overall it kind of just like missed the mark, because when I thought diminishing returns was coming to the game, I thought it would check your builds. So we would see how many instances of this similar thing is applying based on what you're bringing into the match. And if that had happened, we would have saw reductions in like gen slowdown, gen rush builds, that sort of thing. But now the way they have implemented it from PTB and now to live, because it actually did make it to live, is it really kind of harshly punishes a lot of like B to C tier builds on both sides, and kind of leaves the meta that's always been the meta basically the same. Especially when it comes to like the gen rush meta situation, because like, sure, getting that fast yellow progress bar for your gens was it is still strong. It still is good, and that does get hit by this if you're doing like deja vu, resilience, prove thyself. But realistically, people aren't running that to rush gens these days. They'll run one of those. They'll run one prove or one deja vu, and then it's hyper focus stakeout, fast track. But we'll get to fast track because that did get changed. But the problem with the skill check situation is that like a lot of the skill check perks are, when it comes to the coding of the game, function differently, and they function differently in how they're checked by the diminishing returns. So like, for example, hyperfocus stakeout is really strong because while technically when it comes to the percentile that you get from stakeout for a great skill check being slightly higher, and that technically stacks with hyperfocus, and then that gets affected. What makes stakeout so good is not that bonus. It's turning the good skill check into a great skill check. That's what the big change is. That's what makes it rough. So that's kind of the same way it's always been, and has, or like, I don't know if I'm being honest, and honestly, we'll get into this later, but I really don't have the energy to be mad about it anymore. I'm in dad mode where I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. I don't know why we defend hyper-focus stakeout with all our heart and soul. I don't know why we just do not care about that. It has been top of our list for years. This combo is cheesy. And hyperfocus is a perfectly designed perk as is. It's great. It allows players who are good at hitting great skill checks to be rewarded for their skill. Like, it's a well-designed perk. But it's been cheesed for years, and they just don't want to change it. And I don't know why. I could not tell you a good reason besides player retention and just liking the fact that cheese keeps people in the game sometimes, that they would not touch this. But the TLDR, because it's supposed to be about diminishing returns, is that diminishing returns kind of like hits middling builds hard, like haste builds. Haste build, when I would run my haste build today when I was playing Xenomorph, I was like, oh, I feel moderately worse. Like, I'm noticing a big difference here. When I would run like vault builds, I'd be like, I didn't really, like, I'm still going pretty fast over the vault. Like, I can notice I'm slightly worse, but like overall it's not a huge difference. But like haste builds, I'm like, oh wow, this is rough. But like to have that and have the juxtaposition of like, well, you know, gen slowdown is running for slowdown is fine, because if you run, like, for example, like pain res, pop goes the weasel, eruption, and then corrupt, like none of that stacks, right? Because corrupt is a gen wrap at the beginning, pain res hits the gen, pop is applied on a kick, eruption doesn't go off until you down someone, so technically these aren't stacking because they're all separate instances of something happening. So they're not being counted on the back end of something stacking. So it's just like, it's like the meta that has always been meta is going to continue to be meta. Another great example is Resurgence. Technically, heal perks, like super fast heal perks, like you can't do botany desperate measures and get as much value as you did before. But like, people weren't using botany desperate measures to heal as fast as they were before. They were using Resurgence and then a healing perk. That way they could, mitigate mitigate playing the game while injured. But that doesn't stack with any of the healing perks, so you can run those and do just fine. So it's just like the things that are agitating. Another great example, exhaustion. Sorry, I keep interrupting myself. Another great example, exhaustion. Exhaustion perks are really strong, but the combination with vigil makes them really like unhealthy. But that's technically not stacking. That's just, another perk a la stakeout, removing something that balanced this perk. So it just, the things that needed to be hit the most by diminishing returns were just not, whether it was like I talked about earlier, where it was like they just didn't apply it in a way that would have caught them, or like with the sprint burst vigil, where there's no way it would have got caught, but like realistically it's something that needs to be hit, it needs to be dinged. It's been making games unhealthy for a long time. But regardless, diminishing returns, I was hoping would be a big shift in the game to kind of like throw a blanket over the meta to try and bring it down a bit, and then games overall be more fun. And then we could take the little exceptions, like I said, sprint burst vigil, and then like actually finally balance those. But it didn't. It just kind of like left everything mostly the same, with some minor effects, and hit the middling builds the most. So the way it was applied ended up not really leaving the impact that we needed at this current juncture. So overall, I think diminishing returns was kind of not necessarily a failure, but it was just kind of like, okay, well, it's kind of just there when it needed to be game changing. We needed something that would really shake things up, and it was just kind of around. So I'm a little disappointed by that. One thing I will say that is a positive, that is really excellent, is now 1v4 has play while you wait, like we were talking about earlier with 2v8. Queue times get absolutely blown up in the middle of 2v8 whenever it's around. Thankfully, they have instated the play while you wait feature into 1v4, so at least you can play the game while waiting for your longer queues of like 3 to 6 minutes, which is what they were for me today. 3 minutes honestly isn't too terrible, but it's honestly not great. But when it gets up to like over 5 minutes, it gets pretty rough. So I did enjoy doing that today. I had a great time with that. The new Hudson skin that just came out with the 2v8 collection. I've loved Bill Paxton my whole life. Watched Twister way too much growing up, so when I saw them in Aliens too, I was like, whoa. Phenomenal actor, gone too soon, and I'm happy to be able to play them in this game. So yeah, those are two things that are pretty nice from this mode that I think helped make the blow of everything else not that bad, and I really appreciated that. Another positive, there's actually another one, is that I know a lot of people in the P2B were worried about seeing the character that you were facing when you were playing Survivor on the other side was a really bad idea, because it kind of gave the survivors a leg up on stealth killers whose whole thing is kind of getting the drop on you at the beginning of the game. Because now you can pause the menu and see all of your friends' perks that they brought into the match when you're playing Survivor, but you can also see who the killer is. You can't see their build, of course, but you can see the icon of the killer. But yeah, they did finally switch that from PTB to live, that whenever a survivor enters a chase or loses a health state, then it finally reveals it. So if you main a stealth killer, you are going to still have a little bit of a leg up at the beginning of the match, and I'm glad that they did do that, because that was something that was kind of worrisome. I think overall, in terms of the actual character changes, we're gonna have a little bit of a soft rant at the end of this video, and we will get there, and I'm sure you can tell it's coming. But the blight changes, while they were frustrating for me when I was trying them, I knew it was frustrating because it was supposed to be. I don't play blight. I play them every once in a while just because they have a Resident Evil skin, and I like Resident Evil. I, as someone who does not play blight all the time, should not be able to hop on an S tier character and just blow away my games. That 110, you really feel it. You really feel that 110. You really feel when you kick a pallet and you can't rush. You really feel that. It does make matches far harder, which raises his skill floor, which he kind of needed. But the rest, though, they kind of go from like, oh, well, that's kind of fine, to just kind of like, why are these changes even here? And I know the one we're going to zero in on is the doctor, who had a 0.05 change to their power. That was very, infamously pointed out by a lot of us going into the live update, and that made it to live instead of being changed before it hit live. That was in the P2B, and they put it on live. I don't know, man. If I'm being completely transparent with you guys and I'm being honest, I don't know, when updates take months and months to come out, why we would do just a 0.05 change. These changes like these that are 0.05 for Doctor, and that's all he gets. I think that would be fine if DBD behavior did more regular updates to the game, where like every 2 weeks we had little adjust knobs on a character's power. Maybe we'll make this slightly better. Maybe we'll make this slightly worse. If we were doing this like all the time, like we were doing this like every other week that we would do something like this, I'd be like, oh, okay, I understand. This is fine. But just looking at how long it takes, like I said, months between updates, this could be like the last change that Doctor gets for an extremely long time. And it was only a 0.5. That you get a 0.5, and that's all you get for months, or potentially a year or more. That's wild. Like, it's one of those things where it's hard to excuse it once you kind of step outside and you touch grass, because like in our little bubble, yeah, it's nice that behavior is going in and adjusting a lot of these killers in really minor ways. Ghostface, another great example of like your cooldown's down only by 2 seconds. Technically helpful, but like that's barely a change. This is like when you go and you see other game companies, they do these kinds of very minor changes all the time. They do them all the time. And that's because they're doing them at like a higher volume. They're happening more often. So changing somebody by just 0.05 seconds for their power, makes sense, because like they can decide like, oh, was that enough or was it not? And they can immediately go and change it again. Or they can just like keep it the way it is, right? Because it's like they're fine tuning it. This level of fine tuning and then leaving it for months and then maybe not revisiting it and leaving it for years, it doesn't make sense. Not to say that all these changes are bad, like Unknown got way less frustrating to play, so did Animatronic, good old Springtrap. Springtrap feels far less punishing to miss, and so does Unknown, and those were kind of like the two main things that made those characters extra frustrating. There's other things, of course, but that was kind of something that was infamous about both Unknown and Springtrap, was that like missing felt like crap because it took forever, or it was just far too punishing to miss. So now the adjustments made to those characters make them feel better to play, and makes it feel like you don't have to necessarily play perfect just to play a match of them, which is nice. But my point being is that while there's, you know, a couple diamonds in the rough here, I think most of these changes are relatively minor, and like I said, would be okay if Behavior made these changes on like a bi-weekly basis, but they don't do them, like there's months between these changes, and they may not ever revisit these changes. There's no guarantee they'll revisit the changes that are in here. So doing that little, like I think that also comes at the backdrop of like in the dev stream, they made kind of like a big song and dance of like, guys, we're finally helping a lot of the killers that have fallen behind. And then to just have some characters change by 0.5 or just a couple seconds is like, I don't know why there was such a song and dance around it if it was just going to be so minor. And once again, I revisit this. Why are we making such minor changes if we're not going to revisit these changes for months at the very least? I don't know. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Speaking of characters that got changes, technically Wesker was one of those characters that I liked their changes when I tried on the PTB, but he is now kill switched because something they did, the spaghetti code, the lovely spaghetti code that they did when Wesker hit live, he was grabbing people from the other side of pallets. Is that already something he did? Yes, but it was happening like nonstop. he essentially was like a partial ranged character, which was not the intention. Not the intention. So he's kill switched, and like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of a bummer because with the no new characters in 2v8, one of them is now just removed. So that's cool. Let's go ahead and get into good old fast track, because that was a hot button issue going into this update. Fast track got reworked now that whenever you unhook a survivor, you get a token, and you can get up to 3. And then you can do the same thing where you hit a great skill check and it spends the token and it grants 5% progress instead of 2. So the number is higher, but now you have to input an altruistic action that has nothing to do with doing a gen in order to get this. I think I agree with what a lot of people are saying, that this is objectively an improvement. That gets you off the gen, so you can't just keep sitting on the gen. You got to go do something that helps your team. And it like quite, and this is something that I see a lot of people, I think they're missing about this new version of the perk, and it feels like they're kind of being a little bit too harshly negative on it, is that like quite literally, like this isn't going to, like, one of the things that was very, very like frustrating about fast track initially is that multiple people could run it and all be like shaving off the end of gens all across the map, and it was just whenever you hook somebody, then you would feed like 2 different people or 3 different people, or in sometimes nightmare scenarios you get 4 different people that when you hook somebody you would just like feed all of their fast tracks. Now because it's tied to unhooks, only one person can unhook. Only one person can get that unhooked. So this 5%, even though it is a higher number, only one person can get the unhook. So it's not like you're having a team of 4 people all getting 1 stack. Only one person can get the stack for that hook. So it disperses it a lot better. I do want to say though, I think fundamentally making perks around shaving gen progress off, not a good idea. It was the same song and dance that we did with Incapacitated, when that was applied to Eruption all the way back in the day. We tried it. It was not healthy for the game. And now Incap is limited to like powers or add-ons, if that. It was a fun little experiment, but it made the game miserable for the survivor side. So Incap stopped being applied through perks. I think this is kind of a similar situation where like, yeah, you can make it healthier, but I think just like the inherent concept of just like applying something as powerful as a BNP to a gen, I don't think it's a path we should really be exploring. I know it's hard because we're almost in year 10, so perk ideas are hard, but like I don't think it's a path we should be going down. And I think what we're seeing through the controversy that was Fast Track is that it clearly is not something we should keep doing, because the community knows that this is not something that works out very well. It doesn't feel good when it happens. So I think in the future we should stay away from this. I think the big thing that I want to talk about with this update, and it's not even something that's technically like in the patch notes, but it's like, this is kind of like the something that's just like kind of mega disappointing, is that this patch is like super buggy, and the exit gates are taking longer to open for some reason. Don't know why. A lot of audio cues are missing, including for like character powers, which makes it hard to react on the survivor end sometimes. I had a match where I was playing Springtrap where I just didn't get the grab prompt the entire match. I could not grab survivors that I buried my axe in for whatever reason. I could not command grab them. And it was only that one game. I couldn't recreate it. I don't know what caused that bug, but I just lost access to a part of my power for an entire game. People were crashing a bunch today. There were people that would crash once or twice throughout an entire stream, and there were people that were crashing all day. All day they were crashing. I think I think I'm not going to say anything new here, but I do think it's a conversation that we can and should have together, is that unless there's like truly like a big competitor to Dead by Daylight, I think this is just kind of what we should expect at this point. I think like a lot last year, I was very excited for a lot of changes in kind of the general direction of the game, but I think myself and a lot of other content creators are kind of seeing the writing on the wall that things are kind of going to be stuck like this forever. And I know that's not new information. No, duh. That's why I quit. Somebody's putting in the comments. No, duh. That's why I quit. But it's like, I think it's becoming abundantly clear that this is kind of going to be a mess that we're dealing with forever, unless there's like major competition, unless somebody like, comes along and puts that fear there of like, oh gosh, there's an alternative. Like, it's going to be super unbalanced meta, super buggy patch, super clunky patch. And that is something different, because it's technically working as intended, but it's weird or nonsensical. Something like, like I was mentioning earlier, a bunch of visible walls on maps. Technically, they're supposed to be there, but they don't make sense to be there. Why is there an invisible wall over that object? Doesn't make any sense, but technically they put it there. And the reason I say that is not to get into like a complaint fest again or a whine fest, but I just kind of want to be honest with you guys that like, don't get into a super parasocial situation here, but like, I like to think that I appreciate you and I think you're great. And I think you guys, a lot of you that talk to me on the Twitch side of things at twitch.tv/TheMrEddick, you work long hours at tough jobs. And I think that with all the stress of everything, whether working hard or the state of the economy, whatever you want to say, I think that it's just important to check with yourself in a situation like this and be honest. Like, is this something that I want to keep playing? Is this something that I want to keep playing? I always say that for me, it's like, you should enjoy a game at least 40% of the time. And the reason I say 40 is because sometimes games have really bad patches. I think DBD is definitely in one of those eras this past 6 months where it's just like the game feels rough. Because if it's not the bugs, it's the bad meta. If it's not the bad meta, it's the clunk. And sometimes you're dealing with 2 or 3 of them at the same time. And it's just like, I think we're kind of hitting critical mass with like the lack of addressing these things. So it could get better, but I think honestly, like, for you, I think you at home, I think you just have to have an honest conversation with yourself. It's like, do I want to continue to deal with this? Is this something that I want to continue to have to worry about, to deal with moving forward? Am I enjoying the game at least 40-ish% of the time? Because if you're not, maybe it's time to take a break. A la Matthew Cote, try playing something else. Go play Civilization or something, because I really don't want, as much as I've poured my heart and soul into this game, and especially with like the Xeno guide and stuff like that, I definitely don't want you guys that like, you know, like I said, work long hours, work hard, or getting screwed over by the bad economy, all that stuff, to have to worry about video game stuff and video game world in your leisure time on top of it. So I just, you know, want to give you that little checkpoint of like, hey, you know, if it's getting a little too much, maybe it's break time, maybe it's do something else time. It's not quit. It's just, you know, maybe, you know, uninstall it for now, put it on the shelf, and then bring it back out when things get better. You know, I'll be here. I'll still be making videos. I'll still be making like Xeno build videos and these stupid little rant talky videos. So you can always peep in and be like, are things better yet? Answer for right now is not really. If anything, it's kind of worse because there's no like big boogeyman to point out. Like with last year, we had the anti-tunnel, anti-slug changes. You can kind of point at them and go, God, yeah, that's the thing ruining everything. But like right now, it's kind of just like a death by a million cuts, you know? It's like, oh, like I was saying earlier, if it's not the bugs, it's the meta, and if it's not the meta, it's the clunk, and if it's like sometimes it's bugs and clunk at the same time, or sometimes it's like bad meta and bugs at the same, you know. Look at you, we're gonna live forever. I don't know why you're not kill switched still, but yeah, just, you know, don't get too over invested. Well, at the end of the day, it's just game. Why have to be mad? It's just game, and you are more important at the end of the day. You are more important than some pixels on a screen. So, you know, just take care of yourself and don't deal with stuff longer than you have to. I don't know why this randomly came up at the end of the video, but like the map rotation thing got switched. I know that's another thing that keeps people away, is that the map rotation has been like 8 maps, and then you'll have like 2 or 3 of them that are kind of on the fringes that have slightly higher chance for you to get, and then it's mostly just like Toba, Nostromo, Midwich, Toba, Nostromo, and it's like, you know, it was like that for a long time. And then sometimes they'd switch out which maps, you know, you had the higher amounts for, so to be like, I don't know, like Toba, Shatter Square, you know. But they finally fixed whatever was doing that. I still don't know if that was intentional, if it was a bug. I know Odds thinks it was a bug. I thought it was intentional. I thought they were doing that to collect data on maps, and maybe they're done with whatever they're doing, but that's a positive. So that was keeping you away from the game. That got fixed at least, so that's cool. But yeah, I guess I will give it its formal rating. Shocker here, everybody. It's another mid 5 out of 10. There's some good stuff in here. Spring trap changes feel good. Unknown changes feel good. That's pretty awesome. 1v4, play while you wait, makes 2v8 not as frustrating and not as painful to deal with. Everything else is kind of like middling to just kind of like, is it sure nice that Blight is 110 now and can't just run people down after kick a pallet? Sure, but on the flip side, we have like the most minimal of changes possible to like Doctor and Ghostface. Yeah, so, you know, that's excellent. That's wonderful. Fast track has been nerfed, but like it's still pretty good, and it's kind of like the jury's out on if it's still a problem. I think the base foundation of the perk is objectively a problem, but hey, at least it's slightly better. It's just kind of, once again, another patch where I'm sitting here in this chair telling you, hey, this patch was kind of mid. It was kind of like there was some good stuff, some bad stuff, and it kind of measures out in the middle of just another like, it was kind of there. It kind of happened. So that's cool. That's neat. And I don't know. I think personally right now, I think the 10th anniversary is coming up, and I really hope I feel like this is a broken record. I feel like deja vu. I feel like I've said this almost every year. I'm like, I hope that one's better. I hope that one's better. I hope that one's better. But I've been doing that for almost a year. Like, I hope that one's better. I hope that one's better. I hope things go back in a good direction. Oh boy. But yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out today. And I hope that at least if you're playing DBD, that you are having a good time. Because I know that myself and a lot of content creators, your favorite ones that I'm privileged enough to have talked to me about their negative experiences, kind of, you know, playing a little bit more variety, taking a little bit more of a break from the game right now. So hopefully you're enjoying it. Hopefully you're having a good time, and I appreciate you, and thank you for spending so much time with me today on this silly little video. Thank you for liking and subscribing if you've done that, and I'll see you in the next one. If I don't see you there, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.